Until me, anyone in my family who had kids did so by the time they were 27. Generally, 21 was when my family members started having children. My parents were 19 when they started having kids. Their parents were about the same age as well, and my siblings all had kids before 25. They also finished having children in their 20s and are very conscious of that. I, 39-year-old female, was the exception. I wasn't married or having kids in my 20s. This was something my family all highly judged me for because they knew I did want to have children. They all told me I was going to be so ancient when I had them, and they made a big deal about me being too old for having children and not being fair to the kids because I'll be old while they'll still be young, and how much better it is to be active and capable of running around after them and to be the active grandma when they have kids, etc. It was really toxic, and my husband, who was only a boyfriend at the time, was stunned by the attitudes of my family. I had told him how they were, but it really takes hearing the shoot they spew for it to sink in. I didn't feel ready in my 20s, despite my family's norm. We never had a lot, and financially it was a struggle. I saw my siblings struggling and aunts, uncles, cousins, etc. That's what was normal, and part of that was they were all so young and having these bigger families, 5, 7 kids average, and I personally think waiting would have helped that some. But do I judge them? No. I just wanted something different. I'm glad I waited. I had my 3 children at 33, 35, and 36 years old, and we are in a good place to raise them. I went low contact with my family for several years because the comments were no longer okay with me, and they couldn't respect my decision to wait. The number of ancient and geriatric comments I got were crazy, and I was 29 when I went low contact. Recently, my siblings and my parents, to a lesser degree, have been accusing me of rubbing their noses in vacations I take with my husband and kids and the gifts we buy. One of my sisters said her kids were mad that my oldest had their birthday party at the trampoline park and they never get to go. She told me I was really making all my nibblings feel bad about it. My mom told me I act so much better than them by taking my kids on vacations at such a young age, instead of having them wait until adulthood like we all had to. The messages annoyed me until I decided to make a group chat, and I wrote to them that this ancient geriatric mom has no time for their jealousy and that I was not going to apologize for the decisions I made to wait or to enjoy being able to treat my kids. I told them if they could not stop, low contact would become no contact. They accused me of taunting them and lashing out unnecessarily. Am I the idiot? Now, for a few comments before the update, comment 1, absolutely not the idiot. Jesus freaking Christ, I want to cry just reading that sentence about an average of 5 to 7 kids. My primary opinion on how many kids someone should have is an amount that the parents can comfortably support so that the family is not left in financial hardship. And I'm sorry, but I really can't conceive of anyone who can comfortably support 5 kids nowadays unless they're well on their way to being millionaires. And even less can I conceive of being able to support them comfortably when they're having those kids so young. Comment 2, not the idiot. How dare you not start pumping out babies before your frontal lobe is fully developed? How dare you take your children on activities that we can't afford for our own kids because we had them before we were financially stable? You were supposed to be a young, broke parent like the rest of us. Your family didn't make the best choices, and now they're mad you aren't suffering the consequences along with them. Cut them off. They sound absolutely miserable to deal with. I really hope the nibblings follow your example and wait. Now for the update. Thanks for sticking around for more of my life's drama. So much has happened since the last post, it's been, well, I'll just get into it. Just when I thought things couldn't get more heated with my family, my sister's husband lost his job. It was a big deal because they were already struggling with money, and this just made everything worse. They have 5 kids, and it's tough to see them go through this. I felt bad, but it also brought back all those memories of why I waited to have kids. My husband and I talked it over, and we decided to help them out. We gave them some money to get by, no strings attached. I thought this would ease the tension, but it did the opposite. My sister said I was showing off and that it made her feel small. I was just trying to help, but it seemed like everything I did was wrong in their eyes. Then my brother's oldest kid got into some trouble at school. He was caught cheating on a test, and it was a big mess. My brother was so embarrassed, and he took it out on everyone. He even said that my kids would probably end up the same because they were spoiled. That hurt, but I kept my mouth shut. I didn't want to make things worse. In the middle of all this, my parents' health started to decline. They needed more help around the house, and since I was the one with a bit more flexibility, I started to spend more time with them. It was hard seeing them like that, but I wanted to be there for them. Now here's where things got really complicated. My youngest got sick, really sick. We were in and out of the hospital, and it was scary. My family, they were there for me in their own way. They helped with the other kids and brought us food. It was like, for a moment, we were a real family again. But as soon as my little one got better, the old pattern started up. The jealousy, the comments, it was like nothing had changed. And then the decision that tested everything came up. My husband got a job offer, a really good one, but it was across the country. It meant a fresh start, away from all the family drama. But it also meant leaving my parents when they needed help and taking the kids away from their cousins. I was torn. On one hand, this could be the break we needed, a chance to live our lives without the constant judgment. But on the other hand, could I really leave my family behind, especially with everything going on? I talked to my husband, and we went back and forth on it. In the end, we decided to take the job. It was a tough choice, but we had to think about what was best for our kids and us. We promised to visit, to stay in touch, but I knew things would never be the same. The day we told my family, it was like a bomb went off. There were tears, shouting, and accusations. My sister said I was abandoning them, and my brother said I was running away. But the hardest part was seeing the disappointment in my parents' eyes. We moved, and it's been a couple of weeks now. It's strange being so far from everything I've known, but there's also this sense of relief. We're starting to settle in, and the kids are adjusting to their new schools. I miss my family, despite everything. But I also know that I made the right choice. It's not easy, but I'm hopeful that with time, they'll understand why we had to go. Thanks for reading about the chaos that's my life. My partner thinks it's my job to wake up early and make breakfast. But when they skip out to gamble and miss child support payments, I serve up a dish of cold, hard reality and take every penny they have. My partner and I live together with our 2 young children. We both work from home 9 to 5. Every weekday, I wake up an hour before everyone else to pack their lunches, make coffee, prepare medications, and prep breakfast for the morning for me and the kids. I used to prep breakfast for my partner too. More on that in a minute. I then get my kids up, fed, clothed, and ready for the day and bring them to school. I then come home and take care of our myriad of animals before I start work on my laptop. Somewhere in there, I might eat a piece of toast and drink tea in a travel mug to save time. My partner rarely wakes up before I'm almost out the door with the kids, often not until I start work. When they do get up, my significant other makes it a point to ask me to make them breakfast. A bit of backstory, I used to prep my significant other's breakfast like I do the kids in the morning. But since my partner wasn't getting up until later, they would get mad at me for giving them cold food. They like a toasted bagel with cold cuts. Then I would make my partner's food when they woke up, which generally meant stopping whatever I was doing at work to tend to them when they needed it. Then I got fed up with feeling flustered at work and a bit resentful at having to take care of all the morning responsibilities myself when they were supposed to be there. I told my partner that my work time is my work time, even if I am at home, to treat it as if I am in the office. If they want breakfast made, they would have to wake up with everyone else and eat with us. My significant other told me it's my job to make breakfast, and I am choosing not to do my job by not feeding them. That it's my fault for not waking them up because I know how hard it is for them to wake up on their own. I told my partner that they are a grown adult, like me, and should be responsible for finding something that works for them to get themselves up on time to do their morning responsibilities and have breakfast with the family. I did not want to be their alarm clock. My partner notes that I wake the kids up for breakfast so I can wake them up too. I said they are dependents and my partner is not. Given we both work at home, this is a frequent issue between us. Am I being too harsh? Can you please help me figure out if I am the jerk? Edit. In response to comments, my partner believes it is my responsibility to make breakfast, as that is one of my assigned chores. I do all the meals, meal prep, groceries, among other chores, except breakfast on Sundays. My partner's understanding is that I make sure everyone eats breakfast. My understanding is that I make breakfast for those available at breakfast time. My partner has their own chores: laundry, mowing the grass, cleaning the house, etc. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Start dating an adult who can pour some cereal into a bowl with milk. Or something. Your significant other sounds needy and entitled. They don't want to get up in a timely fashion to eat with everybody else when breakfast is fresh, hot, and on the table. They don't want cold food. They don't want to make their own breakfast. They want you to put everything on pause to make them breakfast. I roll my eyes and understand your position. You don't have to tend to an adult at their command. Not the jerk. Comment 2, not the jerk. How precisely is it your job to make breakfast for a grown-ass adult? Are they incapable of toasting a bagel on their own? This isn't Eggs Benedict with homemade hollandaise or anything. It's sliced bagel, place in toaster, push button. If they can't manage that on their own, I suggest confiscating their driver's license because they're obviously incapable of operating heavy machinery. Now, for the update, thanks for sticking around to hear more about my life. So the other day, my partner decided to surprise me by actually waking up early. But instead of joining us for breakfast, they announced they were going out with friends for the day. I was left juggling work and the kids, feeling like a single parent. I couldn't believe it. After all the fuss about breakfast, they just bailed on us. Later, I found out the day out was actually a trip to the casino. My partner lost a good chunk of our savings. I was furious. We argued, and they promised it was a one-time mistake. But I couldn't shake off the feeling of betrayal. Money is tight, and that was a low blow. The next day, I was already on edge when I got a call from the school. My youngest had gotten into a fight. I had to leave work and sort it out. It turns out another kid had been picking on them for weeks. I felt guilty for not noticing sooner. My partner said they'd handle it, but I knew that meant I'd be dealing with the aftermath. I thought things couldn't get worse, but they did. My partner's ex showed up out of the blue. They had a heated argument in our front yard, which the neighbors definitely saw. The ex was accusing my partner of missing child support payments. I didn't even know about these payments. My partner brushed it off, saying the ex was just causing drama, but I found the paperwork later. It was true. I was overwhelmed. I felt like I was drowning in problems that weren't mine. But I kept going because what else could I do? Then, as if we needed more on our plate, our dog got sick. Vet bills we couldn't afford right now. My partner said they'd sell some of their stuff to cover it, but I haven't seen any effort yet. I'm handling it all, as usual. I keep hoping things will get better, that my partner will step up. But deep down, I know I'm just fooling myself. Thanks for listening. My fiancé sides with his family over our wedding plans. So I canceled the big day and exposed his cheating and his dad's embezzlement scandal to everyone. My fiancé, 27-year-old, Rob, and I, 26-year-old, have been together for nearly 8 years, engaged for a little over 1 year. We've been living with each other now since 2021. Around this time, I guess when it became apparent that we were serious, an animosity between his parents and one of his sisters started to develop. We've had some ups and downs, usually starting a down period when I say or do something they don't like or agree with, such as having a boundary. I could list every infraction over the last few years and end up with an encyclopedia level of volumes where 99.99% of those would make you laugh cry. Then these down periods have usually ended with me making a compromise, which more or less has me having to make a 180 degrees to keep the peace. Now, none of these boundaries are unreasonable. Asking that they not turn up at our house unannounced and uninvited is one of them. To only invite us to dinner over the weekend, we work average 12-hour shifts on weekdays, just to name a couple. However, these two in particular cause the most grief because it means that I don't like them, apparently. Come to planning our wedding. We're having a small ceremony, maxing out at 50 guests. We agreed we only wanted a small wedding party, 2 bridesmaids, 2 groomsmen, no page boys, flower girls, etc. I chose my only sister as my MOH and a close friend as my bridesmaid. We sent out the save the dates. Rob handed his personally to his family. No sooner had he done that, had his mother Jan gotten in his face and demanded to know why neither of his sisters were in the bridal party. Rob mentioned that we were originally going to elope, but felt that it excluded family, so we opted for a small wedding. Jan then stated that she would prefer us to elope, then said that I should remove my close friend as the bridesmaid and have one of his sisters. Originally, he had no problem with not having his sisters as bridesmaids. Now he's seeming to have changed his mind, he says, but I think that Jan getting in his face has caused some emotional conflict in his mind, and he just wants to keep her happy. Because of my having to relent usually, I don't want to change our arrangements and want this aspect to remain solely my choice, as I have never asked him to include one of my brothers as his groomsman, as it's his choice who he has. But now it's caused this whole argument where I'm being called a witch and spiteful because I don't want to relent. I've always been told that the wedding is about the couple, and it's not their responsibility to keep everyone happy with their choices. Given their history, I can't trust that they'll get their way this one time, then not demand more changes the closer we get to the date. I don't think I am being unreasonable, but am I? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. It sounds as if you're having to compromise quite a bit at the urging of your fiancé. These down periods have usually ended with me making a compromise to keep the peace. Now he's seemingly to have his mind, he says. He just wants to keep her, his mother, happy. So your fiancé has you change your boundaries. You and your fiancé decided on a small wedding, but now you have to change it up because your fiancé is giving in to his mom instead of supporting you. Does this sound like a healthy relationship? If you can really fill a page about all the ways your future in-laws have boundary stomped and how you have to give in, you have a fiancé problem. Not the idiot. But why does your fiancé give in to his family and make you change so much? Is this what you really want in a marriage? Comment 2. Not the idiot, but you don't just have an in-laws problem, you have a husband problem. You will always be compromising your own happiness and boundaries for his family because he is allowing this behavior all the time. I wouldn't be marrying him at all until he grew a backbone and started putting Mommy Dearest in her place. Imagine how awful it's going to be when you have kids and she just comes around to visit the baby when you are exhausted, covered in vomit and poop, and answer the door with one tit hanging out. I'd be making it very clear to future hubby that this placating to mommy needs to stop because you are the person he has chosen, so he needs to act like it. Now for the update, thanks for all the comments on my last post. Well, things have escalated since then, and not in a good way. Rob's sister, the one who's always been a bit of a wild card, let's call her Sarah, she did something that threw us all for a loop. She went behind our backs and booked a massive venue for the wedding, saying she wanted to surprise us. Surprise, sure, but more like a slap in the face. Rob was furious, but not at her, at me. He said I was being ungrateful, that Sarah was just trying to help. Help? By completely disregarding our wishes? I couldn't believe it. And the worst part? Rob sided with her, saying maybe a bigger wedding wouldn't be so bad. It felt like a betrayal. I was stunned, hurt, and angry all at once. But that's not even the half of it. Remember Jan? She's been stirring the pot, whispering in Rob's ear that I'm controlling and selfish. And Rob, he's been eating it up. It's like he's a different person. He's been distant, cold even. We've been arguing nonstop, and it's like he's looking for reasons to side with his family over me. Then, the shocker. I found out that Rob had been meeting with his ex. Yeah, the one he always said was just a friend. Turns out they've been getting cozy, reminiscing about the good old days. When I confronted him, he said it was nothing, that I was being paranoid. But come on, who meets their ex for drinks and doesn't mention it to their fiancé? The wedding plans are a mess. The venue Sarah booked is non-refundable, and now there's pressure to fill it with guests we never wanted to invite. Rob's family is pushing for a grand affair, and Rob's not saying no. I feel like I'm watching my small, intimate wedding turn into a circus I never bought a ticket for. And then, just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, they did. Rob's father, who's always been the quiet one, got caught embezzling money from his company. It was all over the local news. The family's reputation took a nosedive, and suddenly our wedding was the least of their worries. But not for Jan. She saw it as an opportunity to bring the family together, to show the world they can't keep us down. So now I'm stuck. I've got a fiancé who's siding with his family, a wedding that's spiraling out of control, and in-laws who are more concerned with appearances than doing what's right. I made the choice to try and mend things, to go along with the bigger wedding, thinking it would make Rob happy. But deep down, I know it's the wrong choice. I'm just too stubborn to admit it. The tension's been unbearable. Rob and I are like strangers living under the same roof. And with his family scandal, it's like we're all just waiting for the other shoe to drop. I've been trying to hold on to salvage what's left of our relationship, but I'm not sure there's anything left to save. Thanks for reading. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.